I'm just packing up for the weekend. I got my hunter safety. I'm going to go get my permits so I stay legal and before I go deer hunting this weekend. And when it comes to our food, there's a spiritual aspect to our food. We want to eat red meat because it is lowest in linoleic acid and it's ruminant, so they eat the seeds and grains and convert them to stearic acid, and they give us the energy and the proteins that we need to thrive. But we have to understand that the universe is too perfectly designed to be fair, and there are predators and there are prey, and it's the cycle of life. When you die, you're going to be eaten by the earth. The mushrooms and the ground are going to absorb your body. It just disposes of itself into the ground, and you become soil and fertilizer. That's just the nature of it. It's the cycle of life, and you're not getting around it. So when it comes to certain demographics of our population, they believe that they are in a enlightened state because they chose to be vegan. And they don't like animal cruelty. While you should not create suffering, no matter what, there is a time and a place for survival, and it's the natural evolution of life. So just because you chose to be vegan does not mean you are ethically sound in your decisions. And you're not morally just in your decisions, because when it comes to consciousness, we understand that organic and inorganic matter all has consciousness and all responds to vibrational frequencies. We affect matter, and everything is made of matter with our thoughts. And when we look at a human being, we are carbon-based beings, and so are plants. And plants have a magnesium core because of chlorophyll, and we have hemoglobin, which is comprised of iron at its core. That's the difference. Both have consciousness. Just because the plant doesn't scream when you pick it doesn't mean that you didn't kill it. So you can't get on your high horse and scream you're more ethical, because you are eliminating life to survive, no matter what. And the people who are growing tofu and eating almond milk, or drinking almond milk, and drinking soy milk, or whatever your vegan vegan preference is, you have to understand that in order to harvest that crop to yield the product that you're consuming, there was a lot of death of insects and bugs and varmint, mice, moles, rodents, snakes. You killed more wildlife to grow that crop than you did to shoot one animal. And you created more suffering to consume those foods you're eating as a vegan than you did with one animal. One animal feeds multiple people for weeks at a time. So who's better? And it's not a pissing match to see who's better, but it's just something to contemplate over, because it's not natural to consume all that extreme amount of almond milk or cashew milk, because, or oat milk for that matter, right? They're adding stuff to those, but beyond them adding the chemicals and preservatives in there, you have to realize, when was it ever normal to consume thousands of almonds or thousands of cashews or a ton of oats? Because the amount of linoleic acid is there is lowering Hep C in your liver and creating unbound iron, oxidizing, killing you. Because it's causing your body to rust from the inside out. So you have to beg the question is, why are you choosing that path to force yourself to suffer? And what's going on a subconscious level that's leading you into that belief system that you can't survive and you have to do the most ethical thing? Why are you codependent? in that nature. So I'm a firm advocate of causing as little harm as possible and leaving the least amount of footprint possible. And I love hunting and I love the sport of it, and I want to do it the right way, and I want to thank the animal for its life, and I want everything to recycle. I want to use all the parts of the animal because I'm grateful for its life and what it's providing for me and my health and my vitality to change the planet. And at the end of the day, like I said, we're all just being recycled. We're all going back on the earth. You're made of the earth, from the earth. We're all carbon-based beings. And today, you are comprised primarily of carbon. You are a bunch of vibrational matter, a bunch of different elements vibrating on a frequency to form the reality of what you are. The world's not real. You're creating it as you act, think, and speak. So what is going on in your heart? What are your belief systems? That's what you have to go back to. And I've just decided to take that path of being more living off the land as much as possible, away from society as much as possible, not living in the hustle culture, being as kind as I possibly can. That's the choice that I made. It's what I feel is right, and maybe it's not right for you, and I'm not judging you for it, but you have to pay attention to the decisions you're making and why are you making them, and why is your life the way it is. And you can't claim that you are superior and morally just more than anybody else just because of the lifestyle you chose, because it might just be that the lifestyle that you chose is an unconscious lifestyle because of trauma that's stored on an unconscious level. Maybe mine is. But I'm doing the best that I can, and so are the other people, so they deserve the compassion and the understanding and the education. But to me, choosing to eat meat is a superior choice. It has carnitine. The carnitine is going to help you metabolize the fats. It has creatine. Helps you make more energy efficiently. Helps your ATP in the Krebs cycle. Has your fat-soluble vitamins, A, E, D, and K. You can eat healthy as a vegan. There's a way to do it. But man, is it difficult. It is extremely difficult. And man, I don't want that gas and that bloat that comes along with that. And sure, you can get sunlight. Sunlight helps with your digestion. But that amount of fiber generally is going to tear up your gut and give you a ton of bloat and gas, diarrhea, the oxalates, the endotoxins, all these plant compounds. Polyphenols are actually poisons. Your body can tolerate those to a certain extent. You can get your minerals from those plants. And I think that anybody who says you should only eat one certain macronutrient has lost their freaking mind, because there's nutrition in all the different macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. You need all of them in a balance. And you should be metabolically flexible. You should be able to consume carbs and fats. It doesn't make sense when people go to the extremes and they say, let's only eat carnivore and let's only eat meat. They're just as bad as the vegans, because the people that are expressing, they have issues with their digestion and they're using that as a crutch, because it's going to be their detriment in the end, because the people that only eat carnivore and only eat meat are going to have problems, because they burn more fat initially because it increases epinephrine and cortisol that mobilize triglycerides, and they burn as fat. So you'll lose some weight. But what happens on the other side is that your body requires glucose. So it's going to raise glucagon, and it's going to break down muscle tissue to get the glucose that you need through gluconeogenesis. And as it does that, you slow your metabolic rate through lowering T3, and you don't make your sex hormones. And a lot of the people that are in the carnivore are doing HRT because their testosterone's low. Well, that's because you're only eating carnivore and you're not getting the glucose that you need that's protein sparing. So you can actually utilize the protein that you're consuming. You don't have to go through the stress response to get the glucose that your brain always required to function. So anybody who claims it's only this way oftentimes lacks the macro perspective that exists, that the universe is too perfectly designed to be fair. And there's a delicate balance, and I said you are that other, or you're that other world, and from the world, made from carbon, In other words, if you look at nature, everything's interconnected and everything's one anyway. Your lungs are just like the trees. They branch out the same. Your brain and the synapses are just like the galaxies. Your palms and the way that the lines run through your palms and the creases looks like the leaves of the trees and the roots of the trees. And everything has a dynamic of interconnection and a communication between it all. And you are communicating with the earth. There's a direct link between you and the earth and the universe. And it's all the same, and it's ever expanding, and so are you. So before you judge another person being the same, just because they eat better and want to argue with them because you have an ego and you have to be right, that's fine if it makes you feel good. But there's a disconnection that's there. So you have to look deep within and decide, what's my justification for this, and is it valid? I just named probably 20 or 30 reasons why being vegan isn't the most ethical way. If you had to argue, it'd be a breatharian, but most people that have tried that died. That didn't work out too well for them. You could try to live off the sun. We get electrons from the sun, and some people might be able to get by with it for a long time, but eventually you're going to waste away without the electrons that you get from food. We get a lot of energy. You need less food with the sun, but I think you still need it. So the deal is, whenever you judge someone and you ridicule someone, oftentimes there's two fingers pointing back at you.